Bordering the Pacific Ocean to the west, Chile is situated in southern South America with an area of 750,000 square kilometers and a population of 19 million. It is known as a long, narrow country. The country faces China across the Pacific Ocean. On September 27th, Chilean President Sebastián Piñera said in a video address that the country's 18-month-long state of emergency would end on September 30th, given the easing of COVID-19 in the country.
Durante los últimos 3 meses, y gracias a la colaboración de todas y todos los chilenos, y también a las políticas públicas implementadas por nuestro gobierno, la situación sanitaria y el control de la pandemia han evolucionado favorablemente, con una muy significativa reducción en los contagios, en los casos activos, en las hospitalizaciones y en las muertes.
Official data showed that as of October 21st, 2020, 13.55 million of Chile's 19 million people had been fully vaccinated against COVID-19. The number of new cases and deaths had continued to decline, and the number of COVID-19 patients being treated in intensive care units had dropped to the levels seen in the early days of the epidemic last April. Sinovac vaccines were largely used in Chile's mass vaccination campaign launched in February this year. Sinovac vaccines arrived in Chile in sufficient quantities and in a timely manner, proved safe and effective. The vaccine has played an important role in helping the country recover from the epidemic, with people aged 6 and above fully vaccinated.
La vacuna de Sinovac ha probado ser muy efectiva en evitar contagios, evitar hospitalizaciones, evitar UCI y sobre todo evitar pérdida de vidas.
Let's start with March 2020 to see how Chile, a South American country that cast a vote of confidence in Sinovac vaccine, managed to ease the epidemic situation in a relatively short period of 18 months. On March 3rd, 2020, a 33-year-old male was diagnosed with COVID-19, becoming the first case of novel coronavirus infection in Chile. In the afternoon, Chilean President Piñera announced that Chile had taken all the measures recommended by the World Health Organization, or WHO, to deal with the situation. On March 16, 2020, the number of confirmed cases in Chile rose to 155. Kindergartens, primary and secondary schools were closed and universities stopped offline classes.
De acuerdo a la definición de la Organización Mundial de la Salud, hemos ingresado a la etapa 4 de esta enfermedad.
On March 18, 2020, Chile announced the temporary closure of its borders, banning public gatherings of more than 200 people. On March 19, 2020, Chile declared a state of emergency. On March 22, 2020, it imposed a nationwide curfew. Despite all the measures taken, the epidemic raged across the country. In May-June 2020, Chile was hit by the first wave of the epidemic, with the highest daily number of new infections approaching 7,000. The government had to implement a large-scale lockdown, which severely affected social and economic life. The Magallanes region, Chile's vast and sparsely populated southernmost region, once had the highest rate of COVID-19 infections. At its worst, the region reported shortages of intensive care unit beds for infected patients and had to arrange flights to carry the severe cases to the capital city of Santiago for treatment.
No me dejaron venir por la pandemia. Estuve en casa, pero lo pasé muy mal.
Gloria Vido, 68, runs a family business together with her sister, a store called Nieves, in the town of Laguna Blanca in the Magallanes region. In front of the store is Highway 9 that connects the regional capital Punta Arenas and the tourist site Torres del Paine National Park. Truck drivers and tourists passing by used to frequent the store. However, the pandemic changed everything.
Cuando recién se inició la pandemia fue súper mala la venta, no pasaba mucha gente. Solamente pasaban algunos camioneros que pasaban a comprar su pancito y su café.
Vido is aged and suffers from chronic diseases. She developed severe anxiety due to her fear of COVID-19, losing 5 kilograms in a short time. She was diagnosed as being depression-prone.
Todo tenía miedo, pero era hasta tocar las cosas que me llevaban, mis cosas que me compraban para comer. Yo no tocaba nada, hasta después de 4 o 5 días recién. Respecto a la vacuna, yo lo único que quería era que llegara.
Vido did not know that at that time, the governments and scientists of Chile and China had taken actions to pave the way to inoculate the Chilean people as soon as possible. Dr. Alexis Caligas, a Chilean immunologist, is the director of Phase 3 clinical trials project of Sinovac vaccines in Chile. Since the beginning of the epidemic, the Millennium Institute of Immunology and Immunotherapy, with which Alexis was working, has discussed vaccine cooperation with China's Sinovac and finally facilitated the cooperation between the Catholic University of Chile and Sinovac on Phase 3 clinical trials of Sinovac vaccines.
Que se firmó en julio y como parte de ese acuerdo de ejecución del estudio se estableció también un compromiso de suministro temprano prioritario de dosis de vacuna.
新冠疫情爆发以来，中日两国守望相助，同舟共济，两国元首对两国抗疫合作发挥了坚强的引领作用。
On January 20, 2021, the Public Health Institute of Chile approved the emergency use of Sinovac vaccines.
28号上午，首批将近200万剂中国科兴公司生产的新冠疫苗运抵智利首都圣地亚哥。智利总统皮涅拉、智利卫生部长帕里斯和中国驻智利大使馆临时代办周怡前往机场迎接这批疫苗。
Hoy es un día de alegría, de emoción y de esperanza, porque como ustedes ven, a mis espaldas está el avión que trajo desde China un cargamento de casi 2 millones de dosis de vacunas Sinovac. Y el próximo domingo esperamos recibir otro avión con otras 2 millones de dosis de la vacuna Sinovac.
Panera said that the Sinovac vaccine was proved safe and effective for people over 60 in clinical trials at the Catholic University of Chile, and the Ministry of Health had determined to apply it in the vaccination of people aged over 18. On February 3rd, Chile launched a nationwide vaccination campaign. On the first day of the campaign, people aged 90 and above were vaccinated. 94-year-old Elsa Correa received her first dose in the capital of Santiago.
Confío nomás, confío, que todo sea para bien.
On February 12th, Chilean President Sebastián Piñera received his first dose of the vaccine. The local media broadcast the process live.
Quiero decirle a todos mis compatriotas que esta vacuna es segura, es eficaz.
Vido finally got the vaccine she had been waiting for so long. She was in her store when the vaccines arrived in Laguna Blancaton. She dropped what she was doing and went for vaccination on hearing the news.
Sí, solamente que me cuido, pero ya ese miedo que tenía ya no lo tengo.
Since the Magallanes region is vast and sparsely populated, and families in need of vaccination scattered, it turned out to be a big advantage that Chinese vaccines are easier to store.
Por el tema estratégico, las distancias y el acceso. Hay personas que nos demoramos 5 horas en llegar y de repente por X motivo no estaban. Entonces, ¿qué hacemos con eso? De esta manera con Sinovac pudimos lograrlo. O sea, fue Fue un buen amigo para nosotros esa vacuna. Fue bueno.
2 weeks after the mass vaccinations began, Laguna Blanca town, where Vidal lives, inoculated all of its target population against COVID-19, leading the country's 346 communes.
Generó mucha confianza, en general todas las vacunas, pero vacunas Sinovac, como era funcionaba como las vacunas tradicionales, parte de eso fue el mensaje que nosotros entregamos. O sea, es como la vacuna tradicional, un virus atenuado, entonces genera mucha confianza.
The remote Pacific island of Rapa Nui is about 3,700 kilometers away from the Chilean mainland. With poor medical facilities, the island could face disastrous consequences if hit by the epidemic. The island began receiving the first 1,200 doses of Sinovac vaccine on February 4th. A mass vaccination campaign was then launched on the island on February 8th. Pedro Edmonds, mayor of Rapa Nui, said that Chinese vaccines have brought hope and safety to local people.
Para nosotros es un agradecimiento enorme el tener la vacuna China.
那么像巴西出口的疫苗已经数千万剂，那么像智利已经超过1000万剂，我们给像多美尼加、哥伦比亚、乌拉圭等很多国家，几乎南美多数国家都已经覆盖到。
On September 6th, Chile's Institute of Public Health, or ISP, approved the emergency use of Sinovac coronavac vaccines for people aged 6 to 17.
Hemos aprobado el uso de la vacuna coronavac desde los 6 años. Vimos que era totalmente factible aprobar la vacuna, considerando que la vacuna sí cumplía con los parámetros de eficacia y considerando también que la vacuna sí cumple con los parámetros de seguridad.
The COVID-19 outbreak in Chile has been effectively brought under control as a result of mass vaccination. Meng Wei-nin, vice president of Sinovac, announced during his visit to Chile in August that the company would invest more than $60 million to launch an R&D center in Chile and set up a vaccine production plant to produce inactivated vaccines with an estimated annual output of 60 million doses.
因为现在是大流行期间，所以最重要的目的是赶紧让这个工厂投产生产疫苗，用于这个智利和一些周边国家有需要国家的这个疫情的防控，这是第一步。
Meng said that Chile has high-level medical colleges and research institutions, and the two sides have maintained good cooperation with strong support from the Chilean government.
而且智利政府呢专门指派了招商机构吧，叫 Invest Chile， 是全程跟我们对接。帮助我们选厂址，帮助我们了解当地的法规，申请生产，后续的一些公司注册，批准，等等吧。
Todo esto y toda esta coordinación claramente es un excelente resultado el que Sinovac quiera instalarse en Chile, que quiera instalar investigación y desarrollo en Chile, y eso a nosotros, digamos, nos permite estar compitiendo con otros países en esta relación, ¿cierto?, de innovación y desarrollo.
据实验室结果表明，而且现实世界使用的结果也证实，科兴疫苗安全有效，可及性强，有力地助推了智利大规模接种疫苗和控制疫情的蔓延。中智两国抗疫合作，特别是在疫苗领域的合作，不仅是双边关系的亮点，也是国际抗疫合作的样板，生动诠释了人类卫生健康共同体理念。
In October, when the Magallanes region went from winter to spring, 97.5% of its target population had been vaccinated against COVID-19. With the help of the Sinovac vaccine, after 19 months, the region that used to have the highest infection rate has become a region with the best anti-epidemic achievements in Chile and the first region in the country to recover. Citizens are now able to participate freely in various activities. With the arrival of summer in the southern hemisphere, Local people are looking forward to the recovery of tourism as a pillar industry. Over the past year and more, with Sinovac vaccines, China, the country thousands of miles away from Chile, has become closer and more familiar to the Chilean people.